So when I'm thinking about writing compelling content for Rise Now, when I'm thinking about communicating with my husband, when I'm thinking about saying something to my 5-year-old, I'll actually kind of mentally go through this so that I can be sure to be as clear as possible. So give me a one sentence on your company, on Convergent.is.
We are bringing the digital employee to your supply chain team that you never knew you needed.
So what?
Because it's hard to get good people. The pace and volume of work is overwhelming to most folks in supply chain, and you need to automate it.
So what?
Because you need to deliver for your customers and for your production teams.
So
that you can deliver.
Deliver
You
what?
need a good team.
You need a good team so you can get what you need to get done.
Thanks so much for joining another edition of The Never-Ending Climb for a Stronger Supply Chain and Procurement. Today, we have the pleasure of being joined by Sheena Smith. Sheena is the SVP of Growth at Rise Now, and as some of you probably know, she was employee number 3 at Spend Matters, previously the Chief Strategy Officer. Knows a thing or two about procurement, supply chain solutions, and has seen most of them, if not all of them. And Sheena, I'm so grateful that you could join. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
So am I. We get into this rumor that you've been in procurement for over a decade.
I'm afraid it's not a rumor, it's true.
Ah,
It's a decade and a half, in fact. I hit in 2025.
congratulations.
I think we were going to talk about an origin story because everyone of our generation stumbles into procurement, right? I'm actually thrilled to see where we just launched our first apprentice cohort at Rise Now. We can talk about that later, but
Love that.
a lot of these kids actually, they chose procurement. They studied supply chain in university, and it's just thrilling to see people choose this as a profession. But I was a English lit poli-sci major studying the effects of British imperialism on Indian literature.
Oh, wow.
Real clear path into procurement there for me. But my first job out of college was at an advertising agency. So I worked at Publicis, and I was a print producer for Hewlett-Packard and for Benbridge Jewelers, which was a local Seattle jeweler. So I printed huge billboards of big pearl earrings and Rolexes and servers, and I did massive media buys. I was 23. I was on press at 4 a.m. It was insane. And I did not realize that my job was actually procurement. I had to do 3 bids and a buy for every art piece that I went after. Some of our photographers still actually shot on film when I was out doing my photo shoots. So that was cool to see. But I also had to go around and buy everything when we would do pitches. So when Publicis was pitching PlayStation, I had to go all around Seattle to buy little things, because it was like pre-Amazon, to buy little things to put in the photo shoots we were doing. Or so my entire first job was procurement, and I had no idea what procurement was.
It's
But
more
then
than just buying things, isn't it?
it's definitely more than just buying things. You had to negotiate the contracts, and I was this little 23-year-old, like thinking I was hot stuff, going on press, like being like, it needs to be more yellow, actually. No, it was a crazy time in my life.
There's a confidence that comes with that, though, because you end up needing to build those skills to go and have some of those hard conversations of, listen, love it, but that's not good enough, so
Yeah.
we need it up here.
Oh my gosh, you sound exactly like an art director. I love it, but it's not good enough. Did you miss your calling, Sean?
I will confess to in a parallel universe being a 3D slash computer artist. But
Very cool.
yeah, very, very long story short, I ended up in business generalist, and then ultimately building software for those that want better software, because I feel like that's a large addressable market. Man,
It's a big addressable market.
Yeah.
But anyway, the agency world, I gradually grew into writing. So I was copywriting and learning how to attach emotion to making people want to buy things, right? So that followed me into my career. I moved to Chicago to go to grad school at DePaul for English literature. And ended up meeting Jason Bush through a friend of a friend, and they brought me on as the editor of Spend Matters. So that's kind of my origin story. And I was like, I'll just do this during grad school. And 14 years later, I ended up, I just learned so much in my time that I got to spend with Jason and Lisa and Pierre and Karina. And I just oh, I'm going to get emotional. I have such a deep respect for that team, and it was an
They're
incredible
brilliant.
learning experience. But I mean, at the beginning, we were writing articles like "Don't be afraid of the cloud." Um, and I remember very much when the Icelandic volcano erupted and shut down global supply chains, and we got thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of hits on our coverage. I remember introducing a little company called Coupa to the procurement space, and going to these small little events of companies that are now billion-dollar companies. So it was a ride, and we did it all from the basement of Lisa and Jason's condo building on Belmont and Lakeshore in Chicago.
That's amazing. I love that. When we consider that we can look back in hindsight and remember those times, those days, and all of the things that we were going through that we got to do, that we got to learn, that shaped who we became, right?
Hmm.
I think there's a lot of folks in supply chain that, they might be, 35 years old, but they look like they're 45 because they work in supply chain.
Yeah.
And it's still a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant opportunity to
Hmm.
go through life to learn and to make a difference. And I think that's one of those things that when you have something and you're making a difference and you can see it, you can feel it, that's
Hmm.
been a common thread that I've seen in people that have stuck with that supply chain discipline to go make things happen. As sales is a whole discipline unto itself, because in some ways nothing happens until the transaction actually happens,
Yeah.
right? And getting to that transaction is hard enough, but then fulfilling it is sometimes as harder. They're just very
Yeah.
different skills, aren't they?
So many different skills. And the one common thread through all of those things is knowing how to communicate properly and getting to the meaning of what you actually need to say in a way that resonates with the person who you're talking to, or people that you're talking to, or companies that you're talking to. Um,
Blah 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 blah. Chat GPT. Blah 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 blah.
yeah.
Right. This is basically what so much of what we see looks like, and I know
Yeah.
both of us care deeply about not just blah blah blahing, but having something that has a point to it.
Mhm.
How do you recommend people think about leveling up their communication, Sheena?
Oh, good Lord. I mean, it was over a year ago, Sean. I wrote a post on LinkedIn that got some funny traction about how every single procurement website says these things: will free you up to do more strategic work,
Hmm.
will help you achieve greater visibility, will provide more value to your internal stakeholders, will eliminate manual work, will get you a seat at the table. That's a real good one.
Hmm.
Will get all of your spend under control, will help you get rid of paper in these quote unprecedented times, which I mean, let's face it, that one's true no matter what you say.
Yeah.
It will bring more visibility to procurement than ever before. Every single website out there of any procurement tech vendor, even the brand new ones that are doing incredibly differentiated, cool things, all say versions of these things. And they have for the past 5 to 6 years, and it drives me nuts because now people are feeding their marketing messaging into ChatGPT, and it's just
It's perpetuating
cycle.
it,
It's perpetuating it. It's finding different ways of saying those things, but but it's just saying the same things over and over.
but
And so,
faster.
but faster.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But then all of those things are going into emails
Yeah.
that nobody is reading that are
With
caught in spam filters
with extra emojis.
with extra emojis. Yeah, because there's like, if I use ChatGPT, I actually tell it, please don't use emojis or bold text because I'm so sick of reading like a LinkedIn post every time I ask it to write something for me.
Bullet post one, icon one. Bullet two, little icon for two. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how to spot ChatGPT in one easy lesson.
I mean, yeah. So there's that, but I think I was lucky enough to be part of a Vistage group for a while, and we had a speaker, and you actually mentioned before we actually went live here that you probably had the same speaker, who taught my group a trick called "So what, so what, so that," And so can I try it on you, Sean?
Let's do it.
Oh,
Absolutely. It's such a
so,
powerful frame, right? It's to
yeah.
me, I look at that one as one of those things to put right next to the Simon Sinek start with why and then
Yeah.
what and then how. And I
Yep.
think so what, so what, so that go so nicely together.
Yes. So when I'm thinking about writing compelling content for Rise Now, when I'm thinking about communicating with my husband, when I'm thinking about saying something to my 5-year-old, I'll actually kind of mentally go through this so that I can be sure to be as clear as possible. So give me a one sentence on your company, on Convergent IS.
We are bringing the digital employee to your supply chain team that you never knew you needed
So what?
because it's hard to get good people. The pace and volume of work is overwhelming to most folks in supply chain, and you need to automate it
So what?
because you need to deliver for your customers and for your production teams
So
so
that?
that you can deliver.
Deliver
You need
what?
a good team.
You need a good team so you can get what you need to get done.
Yeah.
Isn't that so much more of a compelling statement than we're agentic procurement?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when everything's an agent, nothing is an agent, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Everything today is an agent. We came across something. It was a little bit of an intel. There was a company demo where they were proudly announcing that they have an agent to make an NDA, and we thought, well, shit, SharePoint could do that 20 years ago. So I just,
But
yeah,
new packaging.
I mean, I was trying to be excited for them, and I went, well, but I just, how do I get excited about that? I'm like, yay for you.
Yeah.
And when we think about what people are holding out as an agent now, as opposed to like a feature or even like a sub feature or a part of a feature, I think that
Mm-hmm.
overhypeness is when everything is amazing, nothing is amazing.
Well, and if you say it has AI, so what? Everything has AI now. And
Yeah.
is it real AI? Or
Yes.
and what type of AI? Is it LLM? Like, what are we working with here? Say what you mean. Say what you're actually doing. Say what you'll bring me. Say what, if I give you money, what am I actually getting in return? Because it's not, the software is a means to an end, or the
Yeah.
service is a means to an end. Like, I'm trying to achieve something. You need to tell people, like, put people into a vision and a future as to what they can do. What's the outcome?
Yeah, absolutely. I love the sense of clarity of the simple question of so what?
Mm-hmm.
And when we can critically ask ourselves, so what?
Mm-hmm.
Why do I care? And how
Mm-hmm.
is it different from every other thing out there? I think that
Mm-hmm.
purple cow analogy is very true, right? If you drive down the high country road and it's like brown cow, whatever, whatever, purple cow, yes, I'm
Yeah.
stopping. Yes, I want a picture of that. And it's memorable. It's like, oh my God, I saw a purple cow. What happened to that poor thing?
Well, it's a pattern disruption. We
Right.
all need pattern disruptions because I read a stat the other day that humans, on average, because we're addicted to the tiny computers that we carry around with us, have less attention span now than an average goldfish.
Squirrel.
Yes. Isn't that terrifying? What a terrifying stat. And so, as a marketer, you have 2 seconds to get someone to say, ooh, pattern disruption. That's
Yeah.
different. I should click on that.
Yep.
So it's fascinating to me that, like, not only do you have to be incredibly clear in what you're communicating, you have to hit an emotion, you have to say an outcome, but you also have to explain who you are and what you do and
And why they
differentiate
care.
in 2 seconds.
Yeah. Good luck.
It's out there. ChatGPT is not going to do that for you.
Yeah. Good luck.
Good luck.
It is remarkably difficult to break through the noise. And I think that signal through the noise is the kind of thing that everybody's looking for.
Mhm.
Because with the proliferation of all of the different dashboards and reports and things like
Yeah.
that, I love the example of an IT department that turned off 2,000 reports and then they waited to see if anyone noticed.
Mhm.
And I think it was 38 or 39 that actually got turned back on again because
Wow.
those emails were being sent out and generated and using all this time and processing and compute. And because there was 2,000 reports that needed to be done, those were all going to be needed for the new system because they were going to be moving to we don't really do the BI kind of stuff, but yes, we
Hmm.
have reports in our software. But this company that was trying to move off of an old business intelligence software, and they were looking to do a new one, they were trying to clarify what they needed. And they said, well, we've got 2,000 reports. And all of a sudden, the quotes that they were getting back were like 10,000 hours of consulting time. And they were just blown away, and they were thinking, this is ridiculous. So they turn it off. And then after turning it off, turns out there was like 37 or 38. And well, that's a much more manageable thing to wrap
Yeah,
your arms around.
1,970 reports that people were creating for no purpose.
Or that had been built over the last 10 or 20 years and being
Yeah, no one
automatically
just
sent
got to
out.
stop. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I mean, I hate email anyway, but what a useless amount of emails too. Like, think
Yeah.
of the like digital footprint that those reports have throughout
The,
throughout
the,
a company.
the immense cost of all of that. And I think we're doing that to ourselves in similar ways in procurement sometimes by, hey, vendor, here's your PO. Would you please confirm it? And they're like, yeah, 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 yeah. Uh-huh, uh-huh, sure. Without necessarily being able to go back and say, do we really have it? Or sometimes it's like, thank you. Oh, shoot, that was actually for a different company with a similar name. Like when one of our customers for software tried to issue a PO for a software renewal to the wrong convergent.
Oh,
And
cool.
we're like, hey guys,
That's not us.
do you still want that? And they're like, oh, we issued the PO. And I'm like, no, you
Yeah,
didn't. We would see it, right?
yeah.
We would see that. It's not there. And they're like, oh, yeah, shoot, sorry. So
Uh,
this idea of clarity, communicating, and even communicating up too, right? For all of the people that are working with business stakeholders, either up or out, that you need to bring the best of supply chain and procurement to work with them.
mhm.
When you're highlighting a risk or even communicating about why to work with procurement, all of those things, if all of those team members are hearing is blah, 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 you need me to comply with another thing, I don't have time.
I don't think people ask themselves the question enough, should this be an email? Or should this be a meeting? Or should this be a phone call?
Yeah. And
Because sometimes if you pick up the phone, you can solve something in 1 minute versus a back and forth that can last days,
mm-hmm.
and messaging gets misconstrued.
Yep.
People think that because you happen to write like one capital letter that was a mistake on your part, now you're super pissed.
Yeah.
Like it's absolutely boggling to me.
Sometimes the message is well intentioned and it says we're trying to solve this and it goes to another department. Or sometimes between a vendor and a customer, which,
Yeah.
I can think back to a time where I was writing a message 15 years ago and it should have been a phone call.
Oh,
And then
100%.
as we get the opportunity now in our as we have a little more experience to help coach folks on our team of like,
Yeah.
it shouldn't have been an email.
Yeah.
That should have been a phone call.
Yep.
Really? That needed to be a
Oh,
phone call.
okay, so let's talk about when it should not ever be an email.
That's where there's potential conflict, I think. And when there's a conversation that somebody may take offense to,
Yep.
right?
Or
Like,
you're really angry,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
or you know that your counterpart is very angry.
Yeah.
Never email.
Got to be a pick up the phone moment.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you make a big ol' nasty mistake, never email.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That's another great rule.
if you are like writing your email like this, don't send it.
Yeah. At least sleep on it and
Yeah.
then think about how you pick up the phone, right?
And then think about how you pick up the phone. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
I love that. I think that idea of pick up the phone is so, so, so important, right? Because when you get an email, I mean, my wife and I have a rule that everything that we say can be taken in probably two ways. One of
Mm.
them might make you upset, unhappy, or offended.
Mhm.
I meant the other one. And this rule of API, right? Assume positive intent
Mhm.
is something that you would like to see as an industry standard, but it is not, right? The assume positive intent, it's a rare few that have that as a default or that have that as a learned habit to try to assume that positive intent. Because if you say something to somebody, even verbally, it is still entirely likely to be done in two different steps, right? Or two different ways. And
Yeah.
if it's not taken the right way, it's probably going to make things worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I guess that brings us to maybe conflict, because often avoidance of conflict And I often associate that with asking for what you need to be successful, which
Yeah.
is a tricky skill in and of itself, but
Yeah.
just not being a beep about it.
Hmm. You don't have to be a beep about it. It's conflict is normal and healthy, and the earlier you address it, the quicker it will be resolved. Like I think about it's funny how we have like taking it back to email for a second. We have this whole subculture of read like things we understand as syntax about emails. So like you write something and you might like say like best Sheena and you never say best and someone knows like oh she's pissed. But then you might also CC a higher up if
Yeah.
you're angry about something so that they know that this person is not rather than just telling the person like hey I really need this thing. I noticed you haven't gotten to me. Is there something that I can do to help you?
Is
Or
everything okay?
is everything okay? What's going on? Because they may be buried with other stuff. And here you are being a little brat, like getting them in trouble via email, via like weird human signals that we've invented because we invented email. Like, oh, it's awful.
That
Pick up.
lacks like 90% of what we actually communicate.
Yes. Yeah.
So let's
We're
take the
we're visual
10%.
creatures. We're
Yeah.
visual creatures. That's why um I like to keep my hands in frame when I'm having very important conversations on Zoom so people don't know I'm multitasking. They know that I can't like be typing messages to other people. I keep my hands in frame because it's a subtle visual clue
Yeah.
for them
Talking.
to know I'm here, I'm engaged.
Yep. Talking with our hands, we're
Mhm.
listening,
And
that
tone of voice.
yeah. And another one I think from a communication side of things is the human brain, just like the little old part of our brain, loves seeing open hands. That's
Yeah.
why people extend a hand for a handshake. That's why the salute was created. It's like I'm not a threat to you.
Yeah, I don't have weapons.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of those little things that I think creates a bridge that makes the communication easier.
Mhm.
So I think there's a lot of folks out there that self-described feel awkward or they're just an introvert, so they're not good at it. I like to remind those folks or invite them to consider that a lot of people who seem to be good communicators learn those skills and they learn them maybe not the easy way.
Oh my gosh. 100%.
There's some wonderful people out there that are just gifted at birth with
Yes.
this ability to just be the warmest, happiest, kindest people. And
Yeah.
then there are the warmest, kindest, happiest people who are so introverted and have not
Mhm.
built and polished those skills to be able to communicate
Mhm.
in a way or show up because they feel like they don't know what they're supposed to do. But
Mhm.
there's some experts out there who, I mean, you could just Google for them, but there's several of them that are such tremendous experts and leaders and teachers to
Mhm.
help people go and learn those skills because they can be learned. They really can. I love
And
that.
all of it can be learned. Conflict resolution.
Yeah.
Uh, you know what's really funny? So I have a 5-year-old in Montessori school, and you would be amazed at how much Montessori teaching applies to the corporate world. So
Go ahead.
things like you name an emotion.
Uh,
I can see you're frustrated.
hmm.
Would you like help? That's very different from a 5-year-old to like your boss, but
Yeah.
naming an emotion because that gives them to be like, no, I'm not frustrated. I'm feeling so then you know what they're actually feeling.
Yeah. Yes.
Um, so it's been super interesting to see how that works on a kid versus how so important that is to the corporate world or letting someone finish something, right? So in his classroom at school, Harrison, everyone can do a work that they're working on, like whatever, and he'll flat out say, "Walk away, I'm busy." And so it lets me know, like, okay, he needs 5 more minutes to finish up his work. Like, how respectful is that in the workplace? How many times have you like been barged in on
Yeah.
or gotten a Teams call where it's like doop doop beep 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 beep, and you were in the middle of like deep work and it takes you out of that versus someone sending you a message like, hey, can I grab you for 2 minutes?
Yeah.
So those little respectful communications are nice too.
They really are. And I think there's a whole host of studies around how COVID and everybody being locked up
Yeah. Yeah.
amplified this or made that
Mhm.
worse instead of making it better. So
Mhm.
that's a great way to go and build empathy and build respect, which I know for
Mhm.
us, if anyone knows, these are our values on our values tree. And that's, people ask me, what is that? I'm like, well, we'll have to bring it up. Well, maybe we'll do a whole episode just on that one of these days.
Oh, I
And
love that you have a values
it's
tree.
how do you elaborate on what empathy means? What principles go with it? And then what questions can you ask yourself to reflect on how well you're doing there? Because those questions that we can ask ourselves are so powerful to remind ourselves, to check ourselves, and to build those habits. Just like, hey, it's not, send scud of we're waiting on all of X, Y, and Z. It's, hey, everything okay? We really need this to be able to do this other thing that we agreed on. And if I can't get this, this becomes invalid. And that's a very different conversation. And it's the right way to surface things
Yeah.
for like the whole book of Crucial Conversations, which,
Yeah.
that's a whole thing to study too.
Oh my gosh, to take it back to the original intent of our conversation today is to talk about procurement. I think one of the biggest areas I see this broken down is between procurement and sales. Like
That's a tricky one, isn't it?
either the salespeople who are trying to sell into procurement or
Hmm.
procurement selling internally. And so, and no one is willing to call each other out. So procurement's like cardinal sin with salespeople is ghosting. You guys all go silent. You're like, I just won't answer them. Like, I don't have an answer for them, so I'm not going to answer them. Or, oh, they're so annoying. Salespeople's cardinal sin is being annoying without bringing a single shred of value. Did you get the proposal? Do you want to move forward? Like, I'm not going
Just
to answer.
checking in,
That's so boring. But it's
just
like,
following up.
yeah, just following up. Oh, is there any worse word in the English language than just?
Yeah,
Oh, like what a weak.
that's just ready to be left behind.
Oh, what a weak word. So it's interesting to think about bringing this level of conversation where procurement set boundaries. I'm not ready to talk about this. I will reach out to you in 2 weeks. If you do not hear from me, please don't bug me. I'll get back to you in my own time. Salespeople, listen. But you need to also be clear about your expectations, right?
Turn off the automated workflow.
Turn off the automated workflow, turn off the sequences, treat people like people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
pretty important.
pretty important.
Pretty important. If Sheena, if out of this theme of how to communicate, how to avoid the blah blah blah, and helping people in supply chain and procurement become better communicators, what would you want them to remember 6 weeks from now?
I mean, this is something my grandfather used to say to me, but you have 2 ears and one mouth for a reason. Spend more time listening than speaking. And
Love it.
don't just listen for words, listen for subtext and call out the subtext. The more clear and open and honest we can be with each other, the better this world will be.
I love that. I love that. Sheena, thank you so much. I'm so grateful for you joining today, for sharing your wisdom, experience, and fun conversation as always. And for everybody watching, this has been another edition of The Never Ending Climb for a Stronger Supply Chain and Procurement. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.